Here we go. We are live, and we have another G.I. Joe Classified Series unboxing. I figured I might as well, since I'm awake right now and don't really have anything else to do, might as well get another one of these out of the way. And I found this while I was out running some errands today. I happened to run by Target, and there it was. So I decided to go ahead and pick it up. Now, I have reviewed the Heavy Artillery Roadblock, which this is a repaint of. So we'll do some comparison type stuff with the original of that. I have not been able to acquire can't talk. I've not been able to acquire Tripwire yet. Man, that was kind of Fox and Socks, wasn't it? Acquire Tripwire. You see why I got tripped up. I guess Tripwire is not the only one that's clumsy, because my tongue also was clumsy. Yeah, but I hadn't had a chance to get Tripwire yet, the original coloration of Tripwire. I will say right off the bat, this set is overpriced. And I'm saying that because it costs $5 more than two single-carded figures would, and that's absurd. And I know some of you are thinking, well, isn't that like a deluxe figure, Tripwire? So shouldn't that be like a little bit extra? No, and I'll tell you why. Because he doesn't look like he comes with all of the accessories that the deluxe Tripwire figure had, which justified it being a deluxe figure in the first place. So he's got like a limited amount of accessories compared to the previous one. And in my opinion, that means he should not have cost the same as a deluxe figure. I'm just saying. It does look like Roadblock has some extra accessories, though. And, some that replace older accessories. We'll get to that in a minute. But it looks like he's got a backpack now, so that's nice. Anyway, let's go ahead and open it up. Well, first, we'll go ahead and have a look at over here on the side. We got a nice portrait of Tripwire. I'm not sure if that's the same one that was on the original one, because, like I said, I don't have the original one. And a nice portrait of Roadblock. He looks really cool. All right, and there's a look at the back. Got Tripwire sweeping for mines, and Roadblock kind of like guarding the perimeter with the Ma Deuce. Yeah, we're going to get to that. We are going to get to that. Yeah, it is a pretty cool backdrop. I don't see really any like Easter egg things that I noticed, but just the backdrop itself is really cool. I like the lookout tower and all that kind of stuff. Looks neat. All right, let's go ahead and open it up. And let's see. Okay, here we go. Got tape over here at the side. This is number 126. It does have little esoteric emblems there, which I have no idea what they mean. All right, let's go ahead and pull that out. There's the backdrop. And there was a little plastic tray inside of here holding the tripod for Ma Deuce. And let's go ahead and have a look at these figures. And I'm going to pull Tripwire out first because, like I said, I don't have a Tripwire figure, so I want to have a look at him. All right, so we got the mine detector. And we can see that this is I guess a little bit of an update on the old Tripwire mine protector, where it had this simple disc down at the bottom. This looks a little more high-tech to me. I don't know much about the art of mine detecting, but that looks to me like they've updated his mine detector a little bit. And then the backpack, pretty deep in there. And this does, to me, look very much like the original Tripwire backpack, but, updated, a little more detail to it, but it's still recognizably the Tripwire backpack. And here is a mine. Not yours, it's mine. It's got a little peg on the back. Now, in Tripwire's first appearance in the comic book, he was carrying a whole stack of these, and then he tripped because he's clumsy. And Roadblock caught the mines, and he's like, what are these, hockey pucks? You need to be more careful with your stuff. And Tripwire says they're mines. And Rock and Roll is like, I know they're yours, but just be more careful. Caught a bunch of mines. So he's got the mines in his backpack here. And it looks like they are removable, as were the original mine. Oh, you can fit one in there at least. But there's a little peg in there, a little peg hole, a little hole for the peg. Little red, or red, I'm going colorblind. Little blue light on the inside, just to give him a little light. And the mine just sort of plugs in there. So he's got an extra mine. I don't know if you can store it anywhere, but we'll figure that out in a minute. Tripwire has a pistol, which puts him at least one ahead of the original Tripwire, who didn't have any firearms. He did have a pistol strapped to his leg, but of course that was in the old days where, like, you know, they weren't removable pistols. They were just kind of sculpted onto the leg. Here is a remote control device for the robot. And here's his robot. Little tiny drone robot, little arm so he can disarm weapons. I was kind of hoping maybe there'd be like a little hole to plug the mine into this, like you could put the mine underneath and you could use the robot to drop off mines as well, but does not seem to be the case. I don't know if there's going to be anywhere to put this extra mine. All right, and there's Tripwire himself. We'll have a look at him in a minute. He's nice and warm because he's been out in my truck for a while. Like I said, I was running errands. And then last, we got this hose, and that's probably going to attach, I'm sure, the minesweeper to the backpack. All right, so let's go ahead and have a look at his articulation. Well, first, he's got one more accessory because he's already got the helmet on the figure. But this helmet is removable, so let's go ahead and take it off so we can get a look at the face underneath. And he is not the most handsome of fellas. He looks kind of like Walter Kovacs a little bit. Kovacs pretending to be Rorschach. All right, yeah. Look at that profile. Yeah, he is a little Jackie Earl Haley, isn't he? Yeah. All right. So let's have a look at his articulation. So he can look up about that far, look down about that far. He's got some extra articulation at the neck that works really well. That's good because, like, I would think him being a minesweeper, you'd probably want to have him looking down at the ground a lot. So that's good. Arms, of course, rotate all the way around at the shoulders, and they move up about that far. He does have these shoulder plates, but they don't seem to hinder the movement too much, so that's good. And, of course, he does have a bicep swivel, so the bicep rotates all the way around. But, again, the shoulder plates kind of bump in, and they kind of hinder it a little bit. But you can move them around and really get it into whatever kind of pose you want. Got really good range of articulation at the elbows with double-jointed elbows. Wrists, of course, rotate all the way around and have a vertical hinge, so they move up and down that way. And same with this one. That's also got a vertical hinge. Sometimes one has a vertical hinge and sometimes one has a horizontal hinge. So I always want to check that out. He does appear to have an ab crunch underneath his breastplate and also the typical G.I. Joe classified waist articulation, kind of reminiscent of the old O-ring joints, but not with an O-ring, with just a ball joint. Leg has the drop-down articulation, so that's good. He can kick his leg up about that far, which is, about par for the course. He does have a thigh cut, but the armor on the legs is going to kind of hinder that a little bit, so it doesn't quite rotate all the way around. You can get it to rotate all the way around if you kind of swivel the leg armor, but, that's if you really want to, I guess. He does have double-jointed knees, so that's the range of articulation we get at the knees. Rotates all the way around at the mid-shin for the boot cut. Really good ankle articulation, points all the way down like that, points all the way up like that, pretty good. Of course, rotates all the way there because it's got that rocker ankle to it, so that's good. So good articulation on this guy, the kind of articulation we've come to expect from this line. So let's go ahead and put the helmet back on him. Now, of course, fans of the original G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero line will remember that the original Tripwire figure just had the helmet sculpted onto the head. It was not removable. So that's how we're used to Tripwire looking. This is, again, like I said, this is the Tiger Force version of Tripwire. So he's got the yellow on the breastplate with some tiger stripes on there. Now, unlike the original Tiger Force Tripwire, where it was a yellow breastplate with simple black stripes, this one's got some brown stripes mixed in with it too. Now, a lot of people might say that this is not a good color for this guy, but he's more of a bomb disposal guy. So I don't really mind him having some bright colors. I think, you know, in the right context, it might even make sense that he has the bright colors. So anyway, let's go ahead and have a look at him with some of the accessories. First, I'm going to put the remote control in his hand so we can see what he looks like holding the remote control. And it looks like it's a two-handed remote control with a couple of little thumb controllers, like a PlayStation controller would have. So we can try to get it into two hands. And I think I got it. So there he is with the controller. And of course, he can send this little guy in there to deactivate the bombs. I did have a name for this robot on the box. And that name is McCloud. That's MACLEOD. And that stands for Mobile Armored Control Lever for Explosive Ordnance Disposal. Now, I don't know if that's a real world terminology or not. I'm not like an expert on bomb disposals. If anybody knows and wants to let me know in the comments, please do. I was like learning more about that kind of stuff, even though I don't know a whole lot about it. But it does, to me, have a feel to it like old school Real American Hero, G.I. Joe. It's the kind of thing that they would call a bomb disposal robot in the old school 80s G.I. Joe. So I like that an awful lot. But of course, you know, G.I. Joe in the 80s was trying to be very much of a, you know, like as realistic as they could get it at that time. I mean, obviously there were things like, you know, mass devices and flight pods and, you know, laser rifles and things like that. But, you know, aside from the more fantastic elements, like they tried to keep a lot of this stuff grounded in the real world. So anyway, since we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and have a look at some of his other accessories. We'll start with this pistol, and it is a dark green color pistol, which I think is really good. It goes really well with the figure. That's what he looks like holding the pistol. So anybody who was disappointed that the original Tripwire did not come with a gun, hey, guess what? This one does now. So that's cool. So we can go ahead and put that in his holster, and it fits into his holster very nicely. Nice and snug. That's not going to fall out. All right, so let's have a look at some of these other accessories. Now, first of all, we got the backpack. And like I said, this backpack is very similar to the backpack that came with the original Tripwire, with the little space in there to put the mines in. He does not come with as many mines as the original Tripwire did. And like I said before, it's not going to be able to hold as many mines as the original Tripwire figure did. And because it can only hold one. So we can only fit one in there. I don't know what I'm going to do with this other one. So anyway, got his minesweeper here. So we can go ahead and put that into his right hand. And like with the original figure, it's got this kind of little bracer at the back. So probably makes it a little bit easier for him to carry the thing, since it kind of puts weight on the whole forearm. But yeah, you can have him go through and be sweeping for mines and everything like that. Put this as close to the ground as we can get it. And like I said, he can kind of be looking down at the ground as he goes along. Oh, and we still got the hose, so we need to connect that. Now, the original one had a plastic hose that molded into the... It was molded as one piece into the minesweeper. And unfortunately, you can see it's kind of pulling on his arm a little, on the thing a little bit, pulling it away from his arm. Maybe if I bend the elbow, no, it's still doing it. That's just going to happen. But yeah, so it's kind of hard to... Really, they should have made this more of a clamp, I think, and that would have helped with that. But you could probably get yourself like a little piece of double-sided tape and stick it on there, and that would help adhere it on there. And also, there is a little clamp over here at the side. So that can hold the Minesweeper. So there you go. So that when he needs to store it for whatever reason. So oh, I should also point out they did put like a little bit of detailing on the side since it is Tiger Force. They put a little bit of Tiger Force detailing on the side there, almost like what they put on the Tiger Force vehicles. So that's a nice little nod. So he does not come with the extra armor that the previous Tripwire figure came with, and that's unfortunate. That to me would have made this figure more justifiable at this 2-pack more justifiable at the price range it would be at. But and plus, if you didn't want like a Tiger Force motif for him necessarily, maybe they could have made that one just in like gray, and then you could have swapped out the yellow for the gray or whatever. So that would have been really cool. Missed opportunity there, but I think he's a neat looking figure anyway, so I don't really mind. And like I said, I was never able to get the original Tripwire that they put out, so it's nice to have the character represented at all. All right, so let's move on to Roadblock. Here's the backpack. That's really cool. I'll take a closer look at that in a little bit. And then, of course, we have this gigantic hand cannon, which you remember if you watched my previous heavy artillery Roadblock review, you remember me talking about this massive handgun he comes with. It's like, do you really need a mod Deuce? That thing's enough of a monster. And then this little esoteric device. If you watched the G.I. Joe Action Soldier 60th anniversary figure review, you know what this is. Let's get back to that in a minute. And then the most exciting accessory that comes with this guy. Finally, we have a Roadblock figure that comes with Ma Deuce, and it's got a little Tiger Force emblem on there, so you know what faction he's with. So other than that, it's mostly molded in black plastic. It's got a little bit of brown detailing on the grips there, which is nice. And if you want to set it up the way that a real world soldier would set up a Ma Deuce, you can put it on its tripod and have Roadblock lying in a prone position and firing it that way. But this is Roadblock. He ain't gonna be doing that. You know he ain't gonna be doing that. So we're gonna set that aside. We're gonna take these grips off of here, and oh, that odd looking pistol device from earlier. Yeah, you remember what this is. This is the pistol grip for the Ma Deuce, so we can make it 80s Roadblock style. Oh yeah, that's what we got to do. And of course, you can't have a machine gun without ammunition. So we got this strip of ammunition, which is actually way too small. They gave us the wrong size of ammunition. This is the ammunition that came with Rock and Roll's machine gun, which of course was a drawing a blank right now. M60. It was an M60. But you can see that I have the original Roadblock over here. And of course, I gave my Roadblock the Action Soldier ammo belt. You can see that this ammo belt is much smaller than the 50 cal. So that is unfortunate. A lot of people wouldn't notice, but I noticed. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. All right, so yeah, and it doesn't fit in there quite right because it's the wrong size. So it fits in there kind of loosey-goosey, unfortunately. So, and then Roadblock himself. And as with Tripwire, Roadblock is wearing his helmet straight out in the package, so we can take that off. And I love this head sculpt and Roadblock. It's great. You can see that they put some black face paint on him, some tiger stripes. Unlike with Flint, Roadblocks is a little more subtle. And this is kind of what I was talking about when I did that Flint review, and how they could have done something a little bit more subtle than giving him a Lone Ranger mask or making him look like he's a raccoon. But Roadblock gets 3 tiger stripes across the face. Almost looks like a tiger clawed him in the face, actually. And let's go ahead and have a look at him holding some of these accessories. So first we got this big old hand cannon, and this is molded in like a kind of a rubbery plastic compared to the other one. So I think I'm not going to have the easiest time getting into his hand. He's got that kind of McFarlane accessory syndrome where the accessory is more rubbery than the hand. So you're having a hard time getting it in there. But there he is holding the handgun. And, you know, I kind of joke about how gigantic this handgun is, but let's be honest, when you're a guy as big as Roadblock, you need to have a gigantic handgun because, like you could probably have like a Desert Eagle and it still look like a Derringer in your hand and that huge mitt because you're so gigantic. So he needs a big handgun just so it looks proportional. So we can go ahead and fit that in the holster. Fits in there nice and snug. There we go. And let's have a look at that helmet. Now, the original Roadblock helmet for Tiger Force, it was the standard early 80s G.I. Joe helmet. It was molded in yellow plastic, had black tiger stripes painted on it. Very easy, very simple. This one's got a little more black detailing to it, probably in an attempt to make it look a little more realistic, but they did sneak a couple of tiger stripes on there, so they're there. And this is the same kind of half-shell helmet they have been using as like the modern equivalent of the old G.I. Joe helmet. So there he is with that. Now, just for fun, I think I had that around here. I could swear I had that around here somewhere. I had, at least. There it is. I think, no, that's not it. That's those yellow Beastman accessories. Dang it. I had made for my heavy artillery Roadblock, this guy, I'd made for him a Tiger Force helmet. I didn't want to do a whole custom figure because that's a hard figure to come by, and I didn't feel right. You know, even if I paid extra to have an extra one, I didn't feel like it would be right to use that for custom fodder because I knew other people would be out there looking for that figure, and I was sure at some point they would wind up putting out this Roadblock, the Tiger Force version in this sculpt. So I wasn't really that concerned about it. And I could have sworn I had that thing around here. Is it maybe over there somewhere? Because I think I had it on the heavy artillery Roadblock when I did that Action Soldier review. And I seem to remember taking it off of him at that point. But now I can't find what I did with it, and I was sure I had it on this table somewhere, but I just got so many action figures piled up here right now from various reviews that I've done. And now I can't find it. Well, if I can find it later, I'll do like a short or put up a picture of it or something, but I'm not sure where it is right now. Anyway, let's go ahead and have a look at and compare these two. I'm going to take Ma Deuce out of the previous Roadblock's hand. So this one, of course, is painted to look like the version 1 Roadblock, the very first edition of the figure. And the Tiger Force version was a repaint of that one. So it makes sense they'd have the same exact sculpt for both. Other than the Tiger Force colors that the original figure had, of course, like I'd already mentioned the face paint on this one, so that's something new. But we can see that his web gear and his holster are now done in green. His boots have green plates on the front of them, and his pants are still brown, but they're like a darker and more reddish shade of brown. And the original Roadblock had brown pants. The original Tiger Force Roadblock had brown pants with yellow stripes on them. And like with Tripwire, they've now added an extra color of stripe to it, which in this case is black. But also, rather than having yellow stripes, these stripes are more of a, they're still kind of yellow, but they're a little more greenish and a little more tannish. So it's almost more of an olive drab than it is a yellow, but I think it's still just barely yellow enough to call it yellow. It's about as yellow as brown mustard, which I know brown mustard is called brown mustard, but it's still kind of yellow. It's just more brown than yellow mustard. Yellow mustard, of course, is really yellow. So So yeah, and then he's got like a dark green tank top, or as the original one had, camo tank top with both light and dark green on it. Skin color matches up pretty well. Not exactly the same. I think it's maybe like a tad off, but maybe he had a little bit more of a tan in the new figure. Maybe he's been out in the jungle a little bit more, got a little darker. So yeah. Also, the black knee pad is painted in on this one, whereas it's left unpainted here. That knee pad is kind of subtle enough that it can just pass for a regular pant leg. So I guess they felt like they didn't need to paint it and just made them look a little bit more like the original figure in this case. But for Tiger Force, they went ahead and painted it in. All right, so let's go ahead and have a look at his articulation. Roadblock can look up about that far. He can look down about that far. He does have the butterfly joints, so those can move back and forth about like that much. So that's good. Rotates at the arm, all the way around at the shoulder. Arms can move up about that far. He's a little muscle bound, I guess. He does have a bicep sole. Bicep rotates all the way around. Got the double jointed elbows, so that's good. Wrists rotate all the way around, and it's got a horizontal hinge. Since he's an older figure, they tended to have horizontal hinges. He's got an ab crunch. He can bend down about that far, bend back about that far. He's got that kind of G.I. Joe classified waist articulation, so you can move him around any which way down here. So that's good. He does have the drop down hips. You can see they drop down about that far. He can kick up about that far. Good range of motion for a big guy. He's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of articulation you get at the knee. Rotates all the way around at the boot cut. Ankle can point down about that far, can point up about that far, and he's got rocker ankles, so they rotate all the way around that way. So that's good. Now let's have a look at those accessories. So I believe this is a new piece with the backpack. I don't think I've seen this backpack before. It does look a lot like the backpack that came with the original Roadblock, only it's a much bigger ammo case. But it does have the handle at the top like that original Roadblock had. It's just got a lot more ammo case to it. Is the main thing. So he can carry that by hand if he needs to. Let's go ahead and put it in his hand and see what it looks like when he's carrying it that way. There we go. That's what that looks like. All right. And one detail I like to it is there actually is a little tag on there that says Chef. Try to get that to focus a little bit so you guys can see it. Chef. And these pouches are painted in a slightly darker color of green, so they look good. Let's go ahead and plug that into his back. And there's a backpack hole in his web gear, so you can plug it through the web gear. Like so. There we go. Pretty cool. And then it's got a little peg on the back, again, like the original had back in the 80s, so we can put the tripod on there. But it does look like maybe you're supposed to put it on the other way, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense. I would think you want to have it on there the other way, but whatever. So he can carry that around. And let's see, there is on the bottom here where we can feed in the ammo belt. So I'm going to do that in a second. Maybe that's why they decided to go with this rock and roll ammo belt, because maybe it was a little longer than than this one. That one looks like it might not be able to reach all the way. But even in that case, it would have been nice if they had just, made a new ammo belt that was the right size and could still fit on there. So we can have him with the pistol grip in there. We can have him hold it like the way we always had Roadblock toting around the Ma Deuce when we were kids. And Larry Hama, of course, pointed out in the comics that this is not how one normally carries a Ma Deuce, but of course, Roadblock is superhumanly strong, so he can actually carry around this gigantic 50 caliber weapon like it was an ordinary army issue rifle. That's entirely because of like the fantasy of the character. Nobody could do that in real life. Even in the movie when The Rock who is a huge dude, a professional wrestler. Even when he played Roadblock, when they had the one scene where he picked up the Ma Deuce and fired it by hand, he's carrying it kind of underhanded. He doesn't have it picked up toting around like that. That is not something I don't think a normal person could do, but Roadblock is not a normal person. He's G.I. Joe. So, but when we put the ammo belt in there, that actually, I think, will reach all the way around back to the ammo box. And we can plug the ammo belt into the... That's probably why they wound up giving him the longer belt, even though it's not the right size. But I don't think most little kids would notice or care if they were playing with this toy. And even as an adult, I can kind of just, use my imagination and just kind of pretend. Yeah, I do wish they had given him the right size ammo belt. That's too bad they didn't. But, it is what it is. So he does look really cool holding that machine gun with the belt feeding into his backpack. This is Roadblock. This is what this character ought to be. And, with the slightly more muted shade of yellow on the pants, I don't think most people would mind this being like their default Roadblock if they were never able to get the heavy artillery version. I just had that helmet over here, the one that he came with, and now I can't find what I did with that. I really need to clean off this table. Oh, man. Because I would have liked to got one more shot of him with the helmet on, so we could see him like entirely geared up. But now I can't find what I did with that thing because I was too busy looking for the other helmet, and I shuffled all this stuff around, and now I have no idea where that could be. Don't be me. Oh well, let's get Tripwire here. We'll get a shot of these two guys together, since they are a team, part of the larger Tiger Force team. So I'm really happy with these figures, even though, like I said, I do feel like this set was overpriced and should have been about $5 cheaper. But even still, like, I don't regret picking this bad boy up, these bad boys. So Roadblock, like I said, always been one of my favorite G.I. Joe characters, and this is a very impressive figure of him, even though it is pretty much this same figure, but with some new accessories and a slightly different paint job. He was definitely worth picking up. It's funny that this is the first time of all the Roadblock figures that have been in this line, this is the first time we've actually had him come with his signature weapon. Even the heavy artillery Roadblock came with a minigun instead of the Ma Deuce, the same minigun that came with the Ram cycle, so they were getting their money's worth out of that weapon at the time. But, since we finally got the Ma Deuce that came with the Action Soldier, I figured it was only a matter of time before we got one that came with a Roadblock figure. Unlike Roadblock, I was never able to get the Tripwire in the more traditional colors, but I'm pretty happy with this version. I think he looks pretty cool. I would still like to get the original color version if I'm ever able to snag one, but for the meantime, this will fill that particular void in my collection. So happy to have them both, and I will be back next week. I did get to do more videos this week than I did last week, so that's good. But of course, I'm taking Sunday off like I usually do because I've got a 12-hour shift. But I'll probably do another video Monday. I'm going to do at least 3 videos next week that I know of, hopefully 4, because we do have these little girl. He fell on the ground. With the 1966 Batman figures, we've got Space Batman, we've got Nightwing, and we've got the Bookworm. And Alfred is supposed to be showing up on Monday, allegedly. Amazon claims that Alfred will be showing up on Monday. So I'm planning on next week being a Batman kind of week. What else do I have coming? I know we've got some DC Multiverse on the way, and I've got at least one more G.I. Joe Classified that I picked up today, but I'll just let you guys speculate what that might be. But we got some cool stuff coming up, and next week I should be opening up all of those Batman figures, so that should be fun. If you want to make sure you don't miss out on that, make sure that you like, subscribe, all the fun YouTube stuff down below. leave a comment. Let me know what you think about these figures and the characters in general. There's still a few Tiger Force figures left. I think that they can get around to. I think they might have done all the American Tiger Force figures at this point, though, except for Sky Striker. I don't think they've done Sky Striker. I think he's the last one. But since they're doing a Wild Weasel figure, and Sky Striker was mostly a repaint of Wild Weasel, I figure we're probably going to get Sky Striker at some point. So, and then of course there's more foreign variants of Tiger Force they could get around to. They haven't done, say, Tunnel Rat, or hell, they haven't even done a regular Psych Out, but they certainly haven't done the Tiger Force version of Psych Out. But I think they've done all the American ones at this point. So they've done Duke, Flint, Roadblock, Tripwire, Bazooka, Dusty. Is that all of them? Oh, no. We still got Lifeline. Lifeline. We still got Lifeline. So, and they haven't done a regular version of Lifeline yet, have they? So, yeah, they should probably get on that. But we've got most of them at this point, but we've still got a few left that we can get around to. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.